Well, good morning. It's Randytbird here on another Arizona cloudless morning in October 27th, 2019. Fall has come to Arizona. We are going to be in the 70s next week. It's supposed to be in the mid-80s today. It'd be just glorious out. Right along, I actually had to wear a flannel shirt this morning because it's nice and cool. It's not jacket weather yet, but it's pretty nice. So I was just thinking, had some time on my hands yesterday with the family out doing something else, just thinking about nearly 50 years of riding and what I've done and all the things that I've all the motorcycles I've owned. And I started out in the early 70s, right around 71, 72, riding dirt bikes in the Arizona desert. And riding dirt bikes will train you how to handle a motorcycle because they get out of hand, out of shape, and they will do everything that will ever happen to you in your life on how to control a motorcycle. I don't know how people in big cities learn except for by trial and error and just blind good luck to not get killed in city traffic without learning how to handle a bike first. But that's how I came up. 4 or 5 years of riding dirt bikes and riding with some great people that I knew from high school that got me into the sport or the lifestyle or the life anyway. I don't really consider it a sport. But I raced motocross and desert races back in the early days of short travel twin shock motocrossers, 2-strokes of course, and had a lot of fun and saw a lot of amazing things out in the desert and wild animals and crazy stuff and old abandoned mines. And I had a desert racer that would do 95 miles an hour in the dirt. I know that because a friend of mine on a Honda 750 paced me on a trail next to a road, told me I was crazy for going that fast over dirt and rocks. I said, well, it's fun. So I did that. But after a few years, I just couldn't get enough riding on Saturday and Sunday, or a few stolen hours in the evening after work. I lived close to the desert in those days. And I had always been enamored with Triumph motorcycles. I remember the first ones I ever saw, I was out on my dirt bike, zipping along and it was just a little bike that I first got. And 2 guys went by me slinging rocks and dirt and just making the biggest roar you'd ever seen. And it was 2 older guys I caught up with later down the trail. They were sitting on the side of the trail smoking cigarettes. And they were old Triumph desert sleds. And they were dated in that era of lightweight 2-strokes, but these were older guys and they probably grew up riding those. And I was fascinated by that. I made up my mind right then I was going to buy a Triumph. Well, I bought a basket case 56 hardtail frame Triumph that just never went together. It seems that every time I turned around and I needed something else I couldn't afford. And the deeper I got into that bike, it was worn out in so many different directions, and I had mismatched parts, and I didn't know anything about them. And so whoever sold it to me, and I don't remember, kind of saw me coming on that deal and took advantage of a young dumb kid and sold me a bunch of garbage, basically. Well, as the world goes, one man's garbage is another man's treasure. And I had a guy offer me $350 for the pile of parts that I had. Apparently he needed some of those. So I took that money and went down and I got a loan from the bank, which I thought was high finance. I think I financed $400 and bought a 650 Triumph Bonneville in 1969. The coolest thing I had ever owned in my life. I'll never forget the day riding that, and it was back in the 1974, maybe early 1975, and I remember putting gas in it the first time and it cost me 38 cents. Boy, things have changed there, huh? But I rode that around, and I remember we used to always hang out on a main drag in Phoenix called Central Avenue, and that was where everybody went to cruise. I went down there that night, and I met some people, and they kind of adopted me and showed me the ropes, whatever. And being in keeping with English motorcycles, the the wiring fried that night. I had to rewire this bike on the side of the road. The first night I had it, I ended up with no lights. So we wired it up, being these people that I just met, wired it up on the side of the road with scraps of wires, and basically ran the lights directly to the battery so I could get home, and then I rewired the rest of it the next day with help from some other friends. So I was kind of into cars and stuff, so I did have some mechanical ability. Electrics were never my forte, but owning a Meridian Triumph, you learned about electrics. A few years later, I bought a 1973 Harley 1000 XLCH Sportster. Man, what a warty beast that was, but it was a Harley Davidson, and I thought it was the coolest thing on the planet. Yeah. That went on, time went on. You know, here I was 22 years old and had a Harley Davidson, and man, I thought that was cool. I rode that bike everywhere. I rode it for my only transportation. Was still riding dirt bikes on Sundays, but the rest of the week I was on that Harley, and buying parts from swap meets and cheap parts from friends and fixing busted parts and whatever. It was a lot of fun. It taught me a lot. You know, time went on, and I had lots of different bikes. I went back and forth between Triumphs and Harleys, which I have my entire life. The Triumphs were kind of my first love. Around in the early 80s, I quit riding dirt bikes. I'm not sure what happened. I think that just everybody that I rode with just didn't ride anymore, so I went full on into road bikes, started hanging out with biker type people, learned that world, and had a lot of fun with that. And to this day I'm still living that lifestyle. I've gone through some changes here recently in my life, and you know, taking in a grandchild at 65 years old, a young child, was quite the it's been quite the experience. But that kind of keeps you young as you can be at my age. But I still love riding as much as I can. I don't have the endurance that I used to, but I still love it. I still live and breathe motorcycles. When I'm not on them, I'm on the blogs, I'm on reading magazines and books, and I just can't get enough. And when I get too old to handle a heavy bike, I'll get something small. And it's a nice little Sportster. I had a few of those in my life. But life goes on, and here I am out today. Beautiful weather. It's maybe 62 degrees. Nice and sunny. Going out for my usual ride. I'm not going anywhere special today, just going out and riding the bike and stopping at my usual places and talking to people who come and go on bikes, and then I go somewhere else and work my way back home. And another thing I'd like to talk about is I know there's a lot of guys here in Arizona that are doing vlogs, motorcycle vlogs, and some of these people are, you know, very well known, and some of them are local. And I would like to propose, if any of you guys are watching my videos, and I will be sending out some stuff on Instagram because I also follow these guys on Instagram, I would love to set a time where a date on a weekend or whatever, we could maybe get together somewhere at a bar or restaurant, or you know, somewhere at a I don't care, a rest area out on the highway somewhere, and get together and compare notes. I'm relatively new at this, and I know there's a guy over in West Phoenix somewhere. He goes by the name Arizona Triumphster. He rides a 19 Slim like I do, and I follow his stuff, see what he's doing, and I'd like to think that maybe he sees some of my stuff. So this is an open invitation. Get a hold of me, comment on my channel, and maybe we can set something up and compare notes about cameras and editing and riding in general and just the love of motorcycles. But that's an open invitation if anybody hears me. And hell, you don't even have to be from Arizona. If you're from somewhere else and you're passing through, you know, give me a comment, give me some contact info, and I will be happy to ride out with you and see what's going on. You know, maybe show you some of my favorite areas. And I know back east and in other places of the country, it's either rainy or it's getting cold, and the winter's coming, the end of your season is starting. Well, ours is just beginning right now, and I really would like to see some of you folks on maybe face-to-face versus you know, just on the vlogs, which, don't get me wrong, I will continue to watch your vlogs, but the invitation's out there. The gauntlet's been thrown down, so to speak, and think about it. Get back to me. Anyway, traffic's pretty nice and light today. The mountains are beautiful as always. I know, that's my theme, is mountains and desert. That's okay. You know, I am hoping to take a trip maybe next year, depending on how things work out with the child situation and the school and all of that. Being able to go somewhere and take a nice long ride where I don't have to be back and deal with family issues, you know, on a regular basis. I'd love to go for a longer ride. Some friends of mine just rode the Dragon in South Carolina, and they had a blast. And hell, a friend of mine bought a new 2020 Lowrider S, and in 2 weeks he had over 2,500 miles on it from making that ride and riding that mountain, and they were just raving about it. They said this is a lifetime type trip. Now, I've rode some great roads in Colorado, Wyoming, Yellowstone, California. I've been all over the West, all over Arizona, South Dakota. I've been to Sturgis 4 times, and I rode all the way, all 4 times. But I hear that one needs to be on my bucket list, so we'll see that. I've never been to the east, much less the southeast. Yeah, other than being born in Ohio, West Virginia area originally, but I grew up in Arizona. I've been here since 1963, so I'm more of an Arizona native than I don't know, a Buckeye, you know, or whatever they call the West Virginians. But besides hillbillies, no offense, I think that's a badge of honor. If you can live in the hills and support yourself, then here's to you. Anyway, I'm going to make my gas stop here, and I'll probably make some more videos today and kind of dole them out during the week. But this is Randytbird. If you like what you're seeing through my lens, and you like the babble that I'm putting out there, go ahead and subscribe. You know, I'm actually increased my subscriptions by more than 50% in the last 3 weeks. So somebody's watching, somebody's talking about it, and I appreciate that. And I'm open to suggestions about just about anything except for politics. I don't want to get into that right now because that's just nothing but an argument. So in this world right now, I don't feel like arguing. I had 2 previous wives to my current lovely wife, and I'm done with arguing. So is she, thank God. Anyway, Randytbird signing off.